welcome to the Hibiscus Children's Center show. We're thrilled to have an opportunity to meet with our community again to talk about the great work that we do at Hibiscus Children's Center to serve abused, abandoned, and neglected kids. Today I have two guests with me, Mr. Lou Bacabella. Lou,
good morning.
Glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Seems like we just did this a month ago or so.
We did. We spoke about things that are happening at Hibiscus, and today we have a lot of exciting things to talk about with our graphic design center.
Great. And so there's been a change with you too. The last time we met, you were the director of the Village down in Vero Beach. Tell us a little bit about what that is, and then we'll talk about the change.
Sure. Being the director at the Village, I handled all of the daily operations of the program, managed everything that was happening with the children, the staff, making sure that the continuity of care was being managed, making sure that everything was running smoothly. And currently my change has been that I've been promoted to a position as Vice President of Project Management and Regulatory Compliance.
Great.
Very excited.
Well, good. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means so our audience understands what it is. But just to give a little more detail, so the Village is about taking care of what age group of kids?
Sure. The Village works with children that are 13 to 17 that have been removed from their homes as a result of being abused, neglected, or abandoned. The program is an extension of the Florida foster care system. So the children that we have come to us as a result of not being able to reside with their family or their caretaker due to that abuse that they've suffered. Many of the children have a lot of trauma that we work with. We have mental health services on campus. We have a career pathways program on campus to work with the children to develop their independent living skills. And we work very closely with the Department of Children and Families as well as the case management agencies to ensure the safety and well-being of these children and hopefully have them reunited with their families.
Great. Now the audience that's watching this program is really in the St. Lucie County area, and we're talking a lot about what's happening in Vero Beach. So we're doing a lot in St. Lucie County too. How does the St. Lucie County community have anything to do with what's happening at the Village?
Well, many of the children that we serve come from St. Lucie County. We work up in Vero Beach at the Village, but the children that we serve come from Martin, St. Lucie, Indian River, and Okeechobee County, as well as some other counties throughout the state.
Gotcha. Well, that's it's great to know that we're here doing that kind of service, especially for a difficult population with our teenagers.
Absolutely.
So, thank you for all the work you did there. And again, we'll talk a little bit later, excuse me, about some of the things you're getting ready to embark on. One of those has to do with our new guest. So, Kathleen, it's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and thank you for having me.
So you've been here a whole few weeks, it looks like, I think.
Right. Yes, sir.
So, and so you're the director of our graphic design program, and so we're thrilled that we get to introduce you. I know that Lou and I, a month or so ago, were busy telling our audience about this new endeavor that we were launching, which is the Graphic Design Impact Center. And so, Lou, if you don't mind, just tell our audience again, just remind them how this came about, talk a little bit about Impact 100, and why we have Kathleen here today.
Sure. Impact 100 is a group of women in Indian River County that come together and donate money to better the community to try to transform programs to benefit children and other aspects throughout the community. As an agency, we came together and tried to figure out what would be best served in terms of working with the children. And going through many ideas and looking at a lot of transformational projects that would enhance our services, we decided on working on a graphic design program that would provide the children opportunities to learn a skill that they would then be able to take out into the public and gain employment. Many of the children that we have are very interested in going to college, and many of them really go on to college to pursue a lot of degrees. But this here is something that provides children an opportunity to have a white-collar job if they decide that they do not want to attend college. Many of the children that we have are very creative, and they love working on art. They love doing things on the computer. So we just felt that this would be a natural transformation for these children, and it works well with our Career Pathways program. The Career Pathways program works with the children to provide them opportunities to develop and really secure their independent living skills so they could live on their own when they turn 18. But we also have collaborative agreements in the community that allow children to have opportunities with internships and other job possibilities. So transforming the Career Pathways program and now developing the Graphic Design Impact Center gives the children another opportunity in which they'll be able to enhance their skills, their marketability, so that when they're 18 and they're on their own, they could then utilize the graphic design skills that they've learned in our program to then embark upon a career.
Well, that's a great overview. And Kathleen, I can't even remember if we shared how this all started for Hibiscus Children's Center. So if you think about Hibiscus Children's Center, we're taking care of abused, abandoned, and neglected kids. And we've been doing that for 30 years, over 30 years. We've provided over 300,000 safe nights of care. But what we're introducing is something called a social innovation strategy. And what a social innovation strategy is all about is it sounds complicated, but it's really, really easy. There are things that the private sector does really well. Businesses like graphic design, they do something really, really well in that space. And then you have an organization like Hibiscus, and we do something really, really well in our space. We know how to take care of kids. We're really good at that, and we've got a mission that drives everything that we do. And then you've got academia, which is a bit where you come from. There's something in that educational space that they do really, really well. And then there's the fourth component, which is the government sector, which is where we get a lot of our funding. So there's something, even though there's a lot of comments about how the government does one thing or the other, there's something they do really, really well. So what if you took the best of those four quadrants? What does that create? And in my mind, it creates that social innovation space. How do we mirror or take advantage of those kind of things and mirror the best things that each of those four components do in turning into something else? And that's what the Graphic Design Impact Center is all about, taking the best of business, the best of our mission-driven component, the best of education, and putting them together in such a way that it creates an opportunity for us to do something very, very unique. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about graphic design and how you think that that's going to impact our kids, and then we'll talk a little bit later about this very specific program we have.
Great. Well, I think that graphic design is all about innovation and imagination, and what better audience than teenagers who have no preset ideas of things and are more free-willed to create and explore. So I envision them having fun in their exploration, and as they go through that, they will also be learning, working with clients and with the different staff at Hibiscus on projects, and learning the processes and different things, and that this is things that will far reach even outside of graphic design once they become adults and that sort of thing. And also then working with me hand one-on-one with the experience. It's kind of like having Monet or Renoir in the room, and you get to just absorb that and be in that arena, so that you can have that secure things that many of our the children, my understanding, have not had in the past, maybe, or come from.
Well, you're hitting a key component. Many of the kids that come to us, Lou and Kathleen, are kids who've been removed. Well, all of them have been removed from their homes, but many of them have been told their entire life that their life has no value, that they don't have a future, they've been robbed of hope. They've really, and they believed it, that they really are going to go nowhere. And so when they come to a place like the Village or Hibiscus Children's Center, or our shelter in Jensen Beach, or our new program in St. Lucie County at Sanctuary for Kids, all of those residential programs are designed to restore a child's hope. That's the key. It isn't just to give them a place to sleep, food to eat, and rush them through school until they get to 18. But it's about saying your life does have value. You do have hope. You can have a hope for the future. And something like graphic design is something real and tangible. So instead of Lou and I in our past, where we could say, you're going to make it and you can go out there and be successful, now we can say, no, you can stay right here. We actually have this very affluent, you mentioned white collar type job. It's okay to go into a blue collar job. But what about the child that really has a high level of technical skill, or has a desire to have those technical skills developed in them, and then they could get a very lucrative job going into the future? What better way is there for us to tell a kid, your life does matter. You can be something maybe you hadn't considered before. So we're super thrilled about it. So this program, graphic design, is new to us. We just hired you in July. The doors open up on our graphic design center on October 1st. So I know you're already working with our kids who are interested.
Yes, sir.
So tell me what you've done already. What have you been busy doing, getting ready to open the doors October 1st?
Oh, my goodness. Well, we've had a lot of community support
Right.
in getting the place painted and some supplies for giving the children drawing tools and that sort of thing.
Right.
And we've been working with them to encourage them as they're doing little small projects now because, you know, we haven't really set up completely. We're in the process of that. So it's really nice to see how receptive and encouraged they are from all of this. Even those that have left are coming back as an intern.
And you mentioned, you know, we always have to remember we are kind of familiar with the subject, but our audience may not be. You said a place, so it's probably important to let our audience know. We have a campus in Indian River County, and it's an 8-house complex, complete with administrative offices for our staff. But then there are these homes that the kids live in, and because we had an opportunity in one of our houses to convert it to a graphic design impact center, that's the place you're referring to, that you've been busy turning it into a business rather than what it used to be used for, which was a house.
Correct.
And so we're getting printing materials in, we're getting printers installed,
computers.
we're getting all the learning stations put together for the kids, all the computers as you've just mentioned.
And starting a little library.
Exactly, starting a library. And I think what I'm excited about is, you know, when Lou and I started working on this with our other staff and working with Impact 100, we had a concept in mind. Here's what graphic design is, and yet neither of us are graphic design professionals. So you've been modest. You've actually created a whole new logo for us and a whole new way to demonstrate in a graphic form, a visual form, what graphic design is.
Yes.
So we're super excited about that, and I know that as we're speaking, our audience is seeing, you know, that new visual appeal and look to the program.
Right.
So there are 5 modules
Yes.
that we're going to walk the kids through. So why don't you tell me about Module 1? What's going to happen in Module 1?
Well, Module 1 really gives a broad span overview of what design is and how things like the iPad ever came to fruition, or, you know, how Coca-Cola, you know, maybe have kept their logo. A brief overview, not to inundate them too much with it. And then also looking at the 3 programs that we have that they'll be designing with Adobe InDesign and Photoshop and Illustrator. Just a quick overview.
Right.
Looking also at all of those previous years of communication. Now that we're in today, what are the various methodologies of getting a business's name out there and how to best express that briefly to introduce them to that.
Great. Well, and I know the next module talks a little bit about sketch and kind of moving more to the technical side of graphic design. I think that's important for me and especially our kids, because many of the things that we see, many of the products that we see from our kids today, just in their normal kind of tinkering around the village where they're living, there are a lot of kids that are really creative with their artistic expression.
Yes.
We've got some fantastic artists
Yes.
who are right here, and that's another example of how kids cope with abuse and trauma. Is some of them take to a pad and they're writing down their thoughts, or they're drawing out the emotions that they're feeling. And we've been impressed just simply watching the level of talent that they have. And others are busily on their iPhones, not just texting their friends, but they're just really technically savvy on these devices. And so Module 2 kind of takes advantage of that.
It does. It says, let's see what thoughts we have, what things that we put on paper, ideas that we may be creating a logo, or we may be creating a three-dimensional piece that would be good to have, and how could that come about? So you first to isolate those thoughts and to make sure that they're narrowing it down to the purest of ideas for the end result, so that you have the best form and function of the piece. Then you're putting those down to minimize the end work, which is where the heavy stuff goes, taking it from that paper to the computer,
Right.
and then learning those transitions from that. And as you do that, a natural flow is to simplify and get things down so that when you get it on the computer, so that, you know, it's what you see is the purest of
Gotcha.
things.
So we're thinking that it's going to take about a month to go through Module 1, another month to go to Module 2, and it's kind of a self-paced program depending on the individual pace of the kids that are in the program. All right, now that we've learned about Module 1 and Module 2, tell us a little bit about Modules 3 and 4.
Modules 3 takes from what you've learned in 2, and you actually then learn what makes a great design, about balance and about composition and those sorts of things. You also learn about the design process, what comes first, what steps to get the purest of designs.
Got it. Okay, and then what happens in Module 4?
And then Module 4, you learn the wow factor. You learn how to make sure that your marketing strategy, what your messaging systems are, that they are in line with the product and the audience, and make sure that those books fly off the shelf.
Right. So when I used the example earlier about Coca-Cola, where I had a variation on what I thought the Coke commercial was going to be, but all of a sudden they throw in the polar bear, and it's like, wow, I want to buy a Coke. So that's the whole concept behind Module 4.
Exactly.
Great. This is going to be exciting for our kids. Thank you. And so that takes us through the last module, which is Module 5, and that's a little bit closer to you, Lou, relative to your background with our kids with career pathways. So tell us a little bit about the final module.
After the children complete each one of the modules, they're going to get a certificate of completion for the first 4 modules. Once they get up to Module 5, they're now going to have the opportunity to go into the community and work with one of our collaborative partners, Ironside Press, to actually do hands-on projects. And Ironside has been in Vero Beach for many years. They're very reputable, and they've agreed to be one of our collaborative partners with this project. So it then gives the children that hands-on, day-to-day business opportunity where they're going to see how an actual graphic design business works, so that the children are now taking what they've learned in the first 4 modules and everything else that Kathleen has been able to work with them, and now actually apply that in a business setting. And working on some projects. It's not just going to be where they're going to do something off on the side. They're actually going to be working on projects that Ironside Press is preparing for their clients. So we're very excited about that because it is truly an extension of the way the Career Pathways program works with the other partnerships that we have throughout the community with businesses and agencies to allow our children to go and work and get that experience.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that they get a certificate of completion or some document after each module, because I think it's important for our audience to understand all of our kids that are at the village, 13 to 17 years of age, they don't all stay the same length of time. And not all of them have the same aspirations. So you might have one boy, as an example, who comes in and we're probably going to have him maybe 3 or 4 months. Well, that's not long enough to complete a 6-month program, but he could benefit from maybe 1 or 2 months. Right. And so at least when he leaves, he's got something in his hand that says, you know, I got through Module 1, I got through Module 2. And we would welcome them, even if they left us, to come back and finish the other modules. There are going to be other kids who stay 3 or 4 years with us, and it would be easier for them to complete the module. I think it's also important, Lou and Kathleen, for our audience to know that not only does it provide this really a white-collar, very technical training for our kids, it also provides job opportunities for when they leave. So, you know, a lot of our kids age out, and for our audience, what that means is once a child turns 18, they're no longer allowed to be in our program at the village. They've aged out. So you can imagine a child who's been with us for 3 or 4 years or 2 years, and they've completed this program, and it's Friday, and they turn 18. Where do they go? This program was specifically designed to address that need, where we could say, you know what, you can't live here any longer. The community has another solution for you now that you're 18. But on Monday, you need to be back here because you have a job here, because it's not just a training program. We're doing the graphic design work for our own company. We do a lot of events. We do a lot of marketing ourselves. And so we're going to put real world projects in front of these kids to work on. And not only that, Lou, I'm excited to say when we first approached this program, we met with the CEO of Martin Health System, and he used to be a former board member of ours, and he expressed an interest in helping us give us additional work from Martin Health System for our kids to work on. And that was a year ago, and so now we have the program nearly up and running, and you've got some good news to report.
Absolutely. We met with him, and he has agreed to give us projects that the children will actually be able to work on. He's all on board, and this is something that is very exciting because being able to reach out to Martin Health opens up the door for us now to then go to other businesses and other agencies throughout our community to show them how this is benefiting our children and how they could be a part of that solution.
So we have, on average, about 40 kids, a little less than that every day at the village. So Kathleen, potentially you're going to be busy teaching some kids while they're doing other things. You know, they're still living and,
Right.
and doing their chores. They're going to school, so
Yes.
we're working around their schedules.
Yes.
But you could have a lot of kids in the program. But our program was designed at some point to say to our community, do you have a son? Do you have a child
Yes.
that would have an interest? Would they be able to participate in the program?
Actually, yes.
Great.
I will be working with them hand in hand on those things to make sure that they have pieces for their portfolio so that when they do leave, that they'll have things from Martin Health and other ones. We've actually had a couple of companies come in with logos and a web page. So
Right. That's an important distinction when you talk about training a child to do something. It's one thing to have a certificate of completion because I did an auto mechanics class, as an example.
Correct.
And then they're out there trying to get a job in auto mechanics, and that's good that they need that certificate. But what you're suggesting is not only will we be able to say, Johnny or Sally completed module 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they have a graduation certificate, but they will also have an actual portfolio that they can open up and say, here's
Exactly.
the design I specifically
Exactly.
did for Martin Health as an example.
Exactly.
Or here's a product that I did when Hibiscus was having a fundraising event, and the theme was whatever that theme might be. So a child can actually go in and say, I actually have not only educational experience, but I've got real world
Correct.
experience that I can show you what I'm capable of doing. That's pretty impressive.
And that's actually how the graphic design world hires. And the better your portfolio, the better the pay, which is better for our children.
Well, that's absolutely right. Well, I always like to talk about all of our programs when we're here. And so, Lou, we talked about your role as the Vice President of Project Management. And I know it's a longer title than that, but I want to pay attention to the project management side. So we're so excited about the opportunity for our kids in Indian River County, where you're going to work very, very closely with Kathleen to make sure that the Graphic Design Impact Center gets up and running. We serve as many kids as we can possibly serve. We develop relationships with as many businesses as we can to do graphic design work for them. So you're going to have a heavy hand in that. But there are other projects that you're going to be involved in. And so let's talk about St. Lucie County first. So we've got our Sanctuary for Kids program there, which is our newest residential treatment facility. And so you'll have a hand in that, and we're super excited about it. But you mentioned Impact 100 in Indian River County. We're talking to a St. Lucie County audience, and I understand that our partner, Debbie Butler with Guardians for New Futures, is working diligently to start an Impact 100 program here in St. Lucie County.
That is something that we've learned, and it's very exciting because Impact 100, the concept is fabulous. It's a group of women coming together, donating $1,000 each.
Right.
And they do not have any administrative overhead. All of the dollars that they earn or that they receive are then given to the community to support projects. So we're very excited about the opportunity of this expanding into St. Lucie County.
Right.
And we heard that they're also going to be having an Impact 100 in Martin County as well.
That's excellent.
So that is something that we're very excited about because we have a lot of ideas and a lot of things that we would like to do that are socially innovative that would benefit the children in all of the counties.
Well, what's neat about it is I might be able to give $1,000. You know, Paul might be able to give $1,000. But it's probably unlikely that many of us are going to be able to write a $100,000 check. So to be a part of a group where I put my $1,000 in with another group of women or men, whichever is the case, to see that, okay, $100,000 can really make an impact. And where $1,000 is nice, but $100,000 can actually launch a business like our graphic design impact center. So I'm super excited that it's being considered in St. Lucie County and certainly Martin County.
Absolutely.
And then another program that is very successful in St. Lucie County is our Supporting Families in Crisis. And you're leading something pretty special there by way of a project. And it's we're serving kids and families in the communities before abuse happens, and we've had great results there. So what are you going to be doing with them?
We've had excellent results with this program over many years. This program is funded by the Children's Services Council of St. Lucie County, and the program works as a prevention program to benefit children and families prior to them having to get involved with the Department of Children and Families as a result of abuse or neglect. And what we're working on with that project is very exciting because of all the success that we've had with that program and the way that we've been able to help families. What we're doing is we're working with local universities to identify someone that will be able to come in to do some research to show the effectiveness of this program and show how if this program did not exist, the negative impact that it would have on the community, as well as showing the benefits that if this program was to be enhanced, the benefits that it would be able to have not only here in this community, but in the lives of these children as they progress. So we're very excited with that, and we're looking to also, once the research is done, is to have this published. So we're in touch with a lot of different people at some universities. I've met with the Children's Services Council, received a lot of data. They're behind this 100%, and we're very excited about this opportunity. Looking forward to have this completed and published by next July.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's just another great way to show that the impact that the men and women have on our community who are serving kids and families in need. So that's terrific, Lou. I look forward to the study when it's done, and I think our community will really like it too. And then we'll talk just for a moment about some work that's being done in Martin County in Jensen Beach, which is where it all started for us. You know, over 30 years ago, our founder, Levon Tilton, founded Hibiscus Children's Center, and we have a 24-hour emergency shelter for kids, and we serve about 36 kids a day there. But that facility's been around a long, long time, and from what I can see, it's very, very tired. So what are we doing there, and how are you going to help us there?
We're in the midst right now of embarking upon a campaign that we're looking to raise $1.3 million for a total renovation of the program.
Great.
We're looking to implement a lot of therapeutic type of settings. We're looking at doing a geodesic dome so that we could become self-sufficient and teach the children about planting, because that also is very therapeutic for the healing process. We're going to have an exercise area. We're going to have a place where the children are going to be safe in terms of the living environment. We're expanding the cafeteria. We're making the house or the rooms that these children are living in more home-like for these children.
That's
more
fantastic.
color, more things that make it safe and make it welcoming for the children to be there.
Well, you're going to be busy.
I will be very busy.
Well, good. Well, Lou and Kathleen, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure to have you here to help us tell our community what we're doing to serve kids. We hope you've learned a lot about the neat programs that we've got going at Hibiscus Children's Center. We're always thrilled to be able to share what we're doing with you. If you want to be a part of Hibiscus Children's Center in any way, volunteering, donating, and supporting us, go to our website at hibiscuschildrencenter.org. Thank you.